Morning, Trainiacs. How you doing? You doing good? I'm doing great. Fairly pumped up because not a lot of companies these days, besides the ones that already had Zwift rides going on, have been able to launch Zwift rides for whatever they're doing. But we ended up getting our Zwift rides approved. And I mean, it's kind of because we've been talking about it with Zwift for 15 months now, and we just officially now, with what's going on in the world, said, hey, let's finally do it and get our Zwift rides going. Last week was a complete disaster on that, but this week is the charm. We're gonna do it. So obviously, with racing being shut down for the foreseeable future, there have been a huge amount of online rides, of virtual races, of so many options for you to go and train online. Now, I think that's phenomenal, but I think that this is not a time that people should be just adding things in blindly. So I've thought and coached a lot of our Team Trainiac athletes on how to incorporate these online workouts, these online races without setting themselves up so that when actual racing, the important racing comes back, that you're toast. Because it's really easy to do that with what's going on right now. Also, notice the Win Republic undershirt? We're finally gonna get that PG-13 rating back. So, I've successfully not crashed this. We're 44 seconds away from actually starting this. What we're doing here is once a week at 12:10 Central Time, we are doing a 1-hour Zwift group ride that's available for Team Trainiac athletes or for people all around the world. So I put in a workout, which right now is a real leg strength workout, so like low cadence efforts, and everyone can ask questions. NTK is behind the camera and she'll answer questions as we go. All right, so if you're doing any of these rides, one thing that I've heard and that I've experienced that will help is lowering the resolution of your actual TV, your system, because so many of these pieces of software like Zwift are tremendously taxed right now. They've gone from, I think, an all-time max of 15,000 riders at one time to, I believe they had 35,000. And group rides and group chats, live streaming things. I've heard and I've experienced with it crashing last week that it's pretty easy to overload your system. So we got some tips that lowering your screen resolution to around 720p and 50 frames per second, 50 hertz as a refresh rate, which you can do in your Apple TV settings, which I'm showing here, or by going into the menu and the settings in your Zwift app. And of course, make sure that everything is connected. As you're logging into Zwift, everything is set up properly, basically as you normally would with a regular Zwift ride. But if you haven't done a Zwift ride yet, essentially what you need to do is in your Zwift companion app. Oh, we got questions.
What heart rate zone should I expect to hit on this particular workout?
So you've got to go into your Zwift companion app or the main screen on the top right, and you need to find the workout that you want to do in Zwift and make sure that you're going. And then what'll happen is as you go and you just do an easy spin before the ride is actually starting, it will then come in and cue you and say, all right, now it's time to join your event. Do you want to join the event? And if you click yes, make sure you click yes way ahead of time so that you sit in the corral and you wait for it to start. And with a true workout, then the workout's done for you. the group is banded together instantly. So it adjusts, in our case, for everyone's different levels. We have 218 people and we're all together and we're all at different levels. Whew. Did it. No technical glitches. Woo. Huh? That was good. I got real friendly with lactic acid, and apparently so did a lot of people. Who wrote that workout? Wow, that was spicy. Thanks, guys. It's pronounced spicy. All right, let me actually go run for 30 minutes, and then we'll talk about just like how to fit these in and out of your training plan properly. So, all right, Trainiacs, before we get into how you should be slotting your virtual races in and out of the training plan, there's something here that I've got to show you so that you understand basically what we're all going through right now. So this here is a sheet that I put together to track heart rate variability that I use the data from an Oura Ring, but you can do this with, I think it's a $14 smartphone app called HRV for training. You input it into this and it helps you understand where you're at in your training. And what you can see here is red cells and green cells. Green cells are basically that you're trending upwards, you're getting fitter, everything's fine. Red cells are you've trended downward, and on average, you are a little bit more beat up and more likely to encounter overtraining or just not perform well. What you can see is at the end of February, beginning of March, everything's good. And I hung on, and like the number that I'm focusing on here is in column E, and I hit 4.04. There's no, like, this is just kind of a statistical number that it ends up working out, but it starts trending downward basically as soon as lockdown hit on March 12th, from 4.04 to worked for a few days, but gradually down. Oh, well, I got up towards the end of March, but right as soon as April hit and it became apparent that we were going to be in lockdown, what you can see is lots and lots of red. I was trending up, and then on the chart, I was trending down. And at this time, one of the things that we did with my coach, Dr. Dan Plews, who I think he did his PhD in heart rate variability, he looked at this and he said, "Why are you so beat up? Like, you're not training very hard." We'd already backed off the training at that point. And essentially what we came to is that because there is this low level of mental stress, of schedules changing, of uncertainty, of when we're going to travel, what's going to happen with races, just this uncertainty of what's going to happen 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, it's all like a low level of cortisol that adds to your stress and makes the body not really ready to push itself really hard. It's like you're kind of in fight or flight mode a little bit all day, and that is going to make it harder to recover. And I'll share this document with you here. Like, this is free stuff. You can use this on your own. So then the question becomes, what do we do about all this stuff? We are just inundated right now with all kinds of Zwift rides and Zwift workouts and the Ironman virtual training. How do we possibly actually do any of these things, stay somewhat motivated, and not burn ourselves out because we are going a little bit too hard? Well, I think that there are a few rules of thumb that I can offer that I'm instructing all of our Team Trainiac athletes to follow. Back over there. So first off, we've done videos that I'll link to at the end about how to adjust your overall training. But let's say you want to step into or out of a Zwift ride. Totally fine. That's really easy to do because a Zwift ride tends to be a sub-maximal effort where your intervals, where your rest, it's all allowing you to ideally complete it one after the other, going through it and not being just completely spent. And those are the workouts that you want to do. Those are the workouts that are really easy to bring in and out of your schedule. So those you really don't have to think about. But it's those maximal efforts where instead of, say, let's say you're building lactic acid in a workout, and then the rest is designed to let it go, and then you build it up, and then you drop it down, and then you build it up, and then you dropped it down, and then in the hour or two after the workout, essentially you've worked your way through it and you're totally recovered. A race is more like you are at your max, it's maxing you out, you're doing muscle damage, you're completely depleting your glycogen, you are going all out. That is going to take a lot more out of you, and it's going to require a lot more foresight into how you deal with it coming into the race and what you do after the race. So this is my setup on teamtrainiac.com, which is the training app that we have 600 and something athletes from all around the world doing. And a lot of them have done this when it comes to Zwift races. So most of these races are on a Saturday or Sunday. And what they might be saying is, in this case, like look at the Sunday workout or even the Saturday workout. This weekend is the Ironman, half Ironman distance race. So it's going to be a lot longer and more intense than either one of these workouts that we've got slated in here. Friday is pretty much always on Team Trainiac, a lighter day that's preparing you for the weekend. If the race is Sunday, make Saturday a little bit less intense and carb load just like you would for a race. Make sure that you're coming into that Sunday race the same way that you would a normal race so that your glycogen levels are nice and topped up and you're not starting on an empty tank. Treat the race morning the same way as you would a race so that you're coming into those online races with a full tank. You're not going to deplete yourself right from the word go. Then let's say the race is Sunday. Forget about the workouts, whatever is on your schedule. If these maximal effort online races are motivating you, do them. Scrap whatever's in your training plan, whether it's Team Trainiac or I'm not telling you what to do with your coach, but in my opinion, whatever you can do that you find very motivating right now is more important than a proper fitness kind of training plan. Because we're not going to need real proper training fitness for months, maybe until the end of the year or next year. So might as well stay motivated right now. So slot that in, forget about the workouts that are prescribed, but here's the key. In the following couple days after, whether you've got workouts from Team Trainiac or you've got your own workouts again, I would recommend making the 2 to 3 days after lighter. So changing those to very, very low intensity, chopping the duration by about 40% so that you can completely recover. Treat it like you did a race, because if you have maxed yourself out, built up a huge amount of lactic acid, completely drained your muscle glycogen stores, that's going to take more than just a couple hours to recover from. Those maximal efforts, those require a little bit of planning. So make sure that you're taking a couple easier days coming into them and then a couple or 3 easier days after. And that is going to give you a much higher likelihood of taking that online race and having it not dig you a hole, having it actually motivate you, and actually absorbing that race as something that can position you to progress in the future. If you're just constantly smashing and smashing and smashing, as you've seen even with the best designed training program in the world and the best monitoring and the best physiologists and PhDs who are published in things, we're in a very low level of stress right now, but that low level of stress, it just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds and adds to your fatigue and demotivates a little bit. So we've got to be really conscious to make sure that we're not pushing too hard into a place that we can't actually recover from, ruining our long-term motivation, potentially getting sick, potentially getting overtrained, all before we've actually had a season to even worry about. Now, if you also want to monitor your readiness to train through something like HRV, what I like it for is that it gives you more of a leading indicator a few days ahead of time before you start feeling muscle aches and pains before you get injured and before you tend to get overtrained, before you get all the signals that you can actually feel, gives you more a leading indicator so that you can get ahead of those things before they become an issue. You can go to triathlontaren.com/HRV training and use something like a Whoop strap, an Oura ring, the HRV4 training app. Putting in your email address at triathlontaren.com/HRV training, it will guide you for how to actually do that. It'll give you the whole thing. It's free. It's just like, I mean, it's a spreadsheet. It's nothing fancy. So that's it, Trainiacs. Go check that out. If you aren't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button below and do whatever it takes to keep you mentally engaged and still motivated right now. Don't worry a whole lot about fitness because we got nowhere to show it off. Worry a lot about your mental state, and as far as just staying motivated is concerned, whatever it takes to do that while not pushing too hard is the key. That's it. Thanks to all the Trainiacs for coming out for the Zwift ride. Stay tuned. On Instagram, we'll be announcing, hopefully doing them every week. Later, Trainiacs.